Welcome to Oh What a Year It's Been.
Yes, Anbona, and welcome to episode 1 of season 2 of Oh What a Year. Honestly, I didn't think I'd be saying these words because in my plans, we weren't going to do a second season. But in this house, we love and respect our audience, and what the audience wants, the audience gets. So here we are. Thank you so much for tuning in, for clicking on this video. If you are watching it on YouTube, please do remember to subscribe. And if you're listening to any of the audio platforms, please do give the podcast a follow and rate us, comment, like, subscribe. Do the right thing. So before we get into it, I must give our disclaimer. I am not a registered or qualified therapist or psychologist. Any advice given on here should not be taken as a substitute for therapy. Free and affordable mental health resources are available in the description box below. All right, let's get into it. In this episode, our question is very simple. How was your year, right? So we're looking back at the year 2024 and reflecting on the kind of year that we've had. So let's get started. The first one says, it was a year full of grace and revelations for me. Oh, Sana, it rocked me. But through it all, I always had peace and joy that didn't make sense. God revealed a lot about my relationships this year. I had to lose my people pleasing tendencies, and unfortunately, in the process, I lost a lot of people. This year, I took many steps forward in my healing journey, and I'm proud that I'm more self aware than I was in 2023. It was far from easy, but I did it. I learned so much about myself. Above all, I learned to have boundaries and be very firm about them. He is a good God. Amen to that. He really is a good God. Thank you so much for sharing. I think this, for me, gives me, like, as I was reading it, right? I thought of the analogy of a ship at sea and the waves are rocky, but the people within the vessel are calm and peaceful because they trust in their captain and they know that he knows how to help them navigate those waves, and that they're going to get to dock wherever it is that they're going safely, right? And that's, I feel like, is what having faith is like, because as Christians or as people of the faith, life is not easy for us either. Do you know what I mean? Like, life is not just smooth sailing, sunshine and roses. Like, yeah, sure, but because we know and you trust in our God, we will have that peace. So I think that's why you had that peace, because at the end of the day, you know that things are going to be okay. Even if it's not now, even if you don't know what okay looks like, you know that things are going to be okay. So I'm very happy to hear that you're navigating or going through this year with faith. As for the people pleasing tendencies, I think that's such a hard thing to work on. I'm so proud of you for doing that work this year, because that is hard work. It's very difficult to go outside of what you've conditioned yourself to think is yourself and start making the right decisions for you. And I think that anyone that isn't pleased by you putting yourself first, somebody who is upset or annoyed or even wants to leave your life because you are choosing yourself and you're doing things that are good for yourself, is not someone you want to have in your life anyway. I think that it's good riddance to bad rubbish, and you have the people that you need to have around you at this stage of your life. Very proud of you for the self-awareness journey. Self-awareness, I believe, is the first step to doing better and to showing better for ourselves and for other people. So congratulations on that, and all the best on your healing journey. Thank you for sharing. All right, so the next one says, what a humbling year that took a loved one. This year was humbling because as a student, I was fighting to get good marks. I would study but get the most mediocre mark. I felt so stupid. To top it off, my grandfather passed away. He had no chronic disease and his death was so unexpected. I didn't have time to grieve his passing, and as the festive nears, I'm really going to miss his presence. I'm glad and grateful to be alive, but 2024, you were not nice at all. I'm so sorry to hear that, and my condolences on the passing of your grandfather. This festive, I don't want to lie to you, is probably going to be really hard. I remember the first time we went to my grandmother's place after she had passed away, and it just felt so empty. It felt quiet, like there was a weird emptiness about it. There were, all of us were there, the whole family was there, but it felt like the heart of the home wasn't there. and it was a very, very difficult time. But I think this is the time that you and your family can come together and sort of hold each other in this moment, because you're all experiencing that, right? So it's the time for you guys to really come together and to hold each other together and be united in creating a new way forward for you guys as a family. So yeah, this is the time for you and your family to come together and to create a new reality for yourselves, because let's be honest, this is your new reality, right? Your new reality is the fact that you guys now have to continue with life without this person. I think that since you did say that you're in school, I don't think that you're working or anything. Do take this time to grieve. Do take this time to process the loss that you have suffered with your grandfather. I'm also very sorry to hear how things were going at school. Like it be like that sometimes. It really, really be like that sometimes with school. You think you're doing it, but it's actually. So I'm not sure if you're going back to school next year or if this was your final year. But if you are going back to school next year, I would suggest meeting up with your lecturers and really going through your papers and finding out how it is that you can do better, where it is that you are not understanding or maybe not expressing yourself in a way that could help you to get better marks. All in all, I just want to say, Ruti, don't lose hope. Like, Amalanga Wafani as something so to say. So, yes, this was not the best year, but that doesn't mean, Ruti, you don't have any good years left in you. Do you know what I mean? Like, life still has so much to offer you, and I hope that the way this year went for you doesn't discourage you from opening yourself up to life and the experiences that you can have in this life. Also, don't let how school went this year make you feel stupid. Do you know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. We are where we are, and you can't change the marks that you've had in the past, but you can always do better in coming years and in coming semesters. So really do take that time to speak to your lecturers and to get whatever support it is that you can get to ensure that you get the best marks that you can possibly get. Everything is going to be okay. Thank you so much for sharing. The next one is really long, so just be patient with me. I bought an A-size 4 journal last year in October, and it finished Monday in October. The first entry states that I am dedicating this season to being self-centered, self-absorbed, and self-obsessed. I want to completely focus on myself, show love to myself, and treat myself as I would want to be treated by others. As a recovering people pleaser, this was fundamental for me. In order for me to reach my goals, be happy with myself, and give from a full cup. Giving from an empty cup would lead to underlying resentment because I couldn't, for the life of me, draw strong boundaries and say no when necessary. I'm still learning to put myself first. I must admit, stepping into my power and consciously realizing when I'm the reason for the ill treatment and actually doing something about it hasn't been easy at all. The mission is not to be a total narcissistic bitch, but to have a balance in my relationships of an equal give and take, as well as to put all the energy I invest in pleasing other people and meeting their needs into myself first. In some cases, I would avoid situations that I would easily find myself in that would compromise me. It was easy, even on my conscience, because I'd be proud that I dodged a bullet. Other times, I would have to say the word no. Lord have mercy. Those enemies of progress would not only have me repeat myself, but find other ways of roping me in, to the point where now I'm forced to be the bad person and show them I mean business. My conscience would feel a tinge of guilt, but I always have to remind myself and reason with myself. So yeah, that was my year. A roller coaster of being proud of myself and at times feeling sad and guilty about putting myself first. But at the end of the day, I've made more progress in a year than I have since COVID. I hope to enforce these boundaries throughout my life, and I hope that it gets easier with time. Wow, this is so beautiful. I feel like giving you a hug. I feel like giving you a hug. This is absolutely amazing. I really love the fact that you had a journal that spanned a period of a year through which you could track your progress. I think it's so important for all of us to track our progress and to know how far we are coming in the journey of going to whatever direction that we have promised ourselves that we want to go. So I'm really proud of you, and I'm happy to hear that you are recording your thoughts. In terms of like being self-centered and all of that sort of stuff, I think it really is important to put yourself first. That's also one of the lessons that I had to learn this year, was to put myself first in a situation where society or morally we would be expected to sort of put other people first, or like to care about other people, to take care of other people when they are in turmoil. But I think in that situation I realized that I actually don't have the capacity to completely give of myself to the situation, because in as much as it was affecting the person in the situation, it was going to affect me too. And so I had to take care of myself too. So I totally understand where you're coming from. I also hear that you're saying, Wuti, you want life to be a balanced and equal give or take. But I think in the perfect world, that can happen, right? On paper, we can definitely do the 50% split down the middle, like two siblings sharing a chocolate and using a ruler to measure it. But in reality, life doesn't work like that, right? It's not always an equal 50-50 give or take. There's some times where we're going to have to show up and give more than we are going to receive. And there are other times where our cup is going to run empty and other people are going to come and fill our cup. So I think instead of trying to go for an equal down the middle split, um look at the situation, right? Read the room and look at the situation and see what it is that the situation requires, or how it is that the situation requires you to show up. But then also look at where you are, right? Look at your capacity. Do you have the capacity to go all the way with that? And where you don't, do communicate that. And since you're already doing that, because you're already mentioning the fact that you have boundaries now and you're laying your boundaries down, it's going to be so difficult in the beginning to put down your boundaries, because people are so used to being able to walk all over you. People are so used to be able to bamboozle you into doing anything that they want you to do. And now that you're saying no, and now that you have boundaries, now that you have your degree, you think you know everything, it's going to be very difficult for them to get used to the fact that it's not the same party. It's not the same kind of girl. Do you know what I mean? So stand on your boundaries, continue standing on your boundaries, be firm with your boundaries, be respectful, but be firm with your boundaries and get people used to the fact that that's not how you can be treated anymore. And sure, the feelings of guilt will rise up, the feelings of guilt will come up, but just give yourself that grace and understand that it is for a purpose, right? It's like a mother allowing their child to touch that little flame for them to burn and to know that the fire burns, right? I'm sure they feel sad and guilty that their child is crying and in pain, but it's a lesson. The child now knows they're not going to put their finger anywhere near a flame. So that's how you should be treating the people around you as well. Like, you need to stand firm on your boundaries, even if it makes them sad or upset. They'll get used to it. And if they leave your life, then that's not someone you want in your life anyway. Thank you so much for sharing and all the best. The next one says, I wanted to start this off by saying, we plan, but God decides. But also, I did resign for a job I prayed and fasted for. I even prayed and fasted before leaving just to be sure it's the right decision. However, if I answered this 6 months ago, I would have definitely said that it's been a shitty year. My whole life was work and sleep. I didn't know who I was outside of the job that pays me. After I resigned, I started questioning who I am and had to face some of the hard truths about myself. I was working so much, I thought I'd lost my identity and my community. This year has showed me how important it is to have balance. I spent the first 6 months of this year working myself into mental exhaustion. Now, the last 6 months have been about healing and pouring into myself and my loved ones. It sounds like a good balance to me. And honestly, it's true. We plan, but God decides. And sometimes God lets you go ahead with your own little plan so that when you fail, He's there and you can still find refuge in Him and have faith in His plan for you. Oh, baby, that's so beautiful. That's really so beautiful. And it's very, very true. We really do plan, but God decides. And I genuinely do always believe, Lucy, God's plans are far greater than anything I can ever imagine. So maybe I should follow those plans. And you know what? I don't think it's a bad thing for us to plan, right? I don't think that we should be chilling on the beach waiting for God to sort of make the direction and the moves of our lives, right? I think it is good for us to make plans for our lives and make moves and take action towards the direction of those plans. But in doing that, also be open to surrender and to allow God to elevate us even higher than we thought we could, right? But you need to be on the path and on the direction for Him to be able to propel you even further. So I'm happy to hear that. I'm really glad to hear that you do have those plans and you are working towards them. But you're also allowing God to do a God thing in your life. That's amazing. And as for leaving a job that you prayed and fasted for, if there's anyone who knows anything about that, it's this girl. Because one thing about me, I will leave. And I think that it goes back to Ecclesiastes 3. Ecclesiastes 3 is my favorite verse in Klabenga Jehovah. And it says there's a time for everything, right? There's a time for starting a new job and there's a time for leaving. People always speak about things and people that are in your life for a reason or a season. And I think that you leaving the job, like that season is done. Whatever it is that you were supposed to learn, get, grow, do within that space and within that company has been done, and your time there is done. And that's why God even allowed you to leave that job to get into a space where you're now coming back home to yourself. I am so happy to hear that you are now taking the time to pour into yourself and to pour into your loved ones. I pray that that sort of balance that you're finding from that remains in your life, even when you find another job, even when you move into a different phase of your life. I pray that you still know that you can have that community and you can have that balance. It's so hard for us to not fall into the trap of making our jobs our lives, right? Because we spend so much time at work. We spend so much time at work. Those of us who don't work remotely, we spend even more time driving to work. And even when you're at home, even when you're at the gym, even when you're just living your life, you're thinking about work. This needs to be done, that needs to be done, whatever, whatever. And if your job sucks or if you're unhappy at work, you really start thinking that your life sucks and that you're unhappy in your life. So it is important for us to have things that we do outside of work that make us happy, you know what I mean? And one of the things that I do sometimes is to just go to a park during my lunch break, eat ice cream, chill at the park, or sit in my car and watch a show. Do you know what I mean? Just to remove myself from work so that I can understand that my entire life isn't work and there's so much more to life. There's so much more to my life than work. And I'm happy to hear that you are sort of getting to that by filling your life with yourself, filling your life with your loved ones. Please hold on to that. Even when you go back to work, even when you find another job. I don't know if you found another job, girl. But even if you do find another job and you start working at another job, I do pray that you do remember that work is but a third of your day. And there's so much more to you, there's so much more to your life than there is work. And know that you can step back from work. I don't know what you are. Maybe you're a doctor. If you're a doctor, please don't step back from work. People need to be saved. But but like just always remind yourself, it's like it's not that deep. Like it's not that deep, you know. All the best with that, all the best with following God's plan for your life, all the best with filling your life with yourself, finding things that you love, finding things that make you happy, and spending time with the people you love who are constantly going to remind you of how beautiful life truly is, even with everything else that's happening on the side. All the best, and thank you for sharing. The next one says, yo, where do I start? This year was very eye-opening for me in terms of growth, both professionally and personally. I've gained a lot of knowledge and I've also faced a lot of hardship, but I'm still with God and I'm still pushing. I've been getting jobs here and there that are not paying enough, but who am I to complain? The worst of it is that I'm going to end this year with a job that pays 1,600 a month, but I'm so grateful. At least I'm not frustrated with being at home doing nothing. So blessed, living in gratitude and answered prayers. Damn, okay. Wow. I'm so happy to hear that there's gratitude here. I'm glad to hear that there's gratitude and that you're realizing and recognizing that there are other prayers around you that are being answered. I think that when there's a certain prayer, especially when it comes to work, yeah, but when it comes to work, especially Futi, if you studied with people or you grew up with people and you're seeing how the people you were classmates with in varsity or whatever, how their lives are going on, and when it's so difficult to be able to see the other blessings that you have in your life, right? Having a good family, having love around you, having all the other things that you're blessed to have, because this one thing is not working out and it really feels like God and the world are against you. um I in my humanness, I think I would honestly be feeling like that. So seeing how grateful you are for all the things that you do have is so encouraging, and I pray that that encourages you to go harder, you know what I mean? I know what you're saying, Wuti, who am I to complain? And you are human. Like, I think it's so valid for you to want to complain. I mean, don't live in a constant state of complaining, but it is valid for you to complain. It is valid for you to be unhappy about some of the things that are happening in your life. But I hope that you take those negative feelings and you take those complaints and those frustrations and you use them as fuel to sort of push you to finding creative solutions, you know what I mean, to your situation, because I can't be like, we apply Amara, because that's so frustrating. Like, it's so frustrating as somebody who is looking for full-time employment for people to be asking you if you're applying. Like, I'm obviously applying, babe. Why would I not be applying if I know I want work, right? But also look at other creative things that you can do to create an income for yourself. And I don't mean sit in front of a camera and read people's life stories and talk about them, but there might be other skills and other things that you can do with your hands, with your mind, with your body, whatever, to sort of create a lane for yourself. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to explain this in terms of like a creative example, but please apply it to your life. Like, for instance, one of the things that I've found very frustrating as somebody who works as a creative is being unable to express myself the way I want to, because at the end of the day, these are other people's platforms, right? Working at the radio station that I work for, if a client says, I don't like this word, use this one, but I think that word is a bomb.com, I can't get too mad because it's not my platform, it's not my brand. I don't have all the power, right? But here's what I'm doing for myself. Here are the creative ways that I'm finding to express myself in a way that I want to, by creating my own lane, by creating my own platform where I can express myself as freely as I want to, right? So I think with you as well, like in terms of finding something that you can do to create an income or to create a lane or a life for yourself, really find out your passions, your skills, your dreams. Go back to your dreams, right? Go back to your dreams as a little child. What is it that you wanted to do, and how is it that you can work towards making that a reality? Work towards making that a reality for yourself, even if it's in the small ways, right? I do hope that you are surrounded by a supportive family. I hope that you are surrounded by people who love you and people who are going to show you care during this time, right? I hope that you have a community that's holding you down and helping you as you push forward to the next stages of your life. I pray that God blesses you with a full-time, proper job that's going to give you all the money that you need to create the kind of life that you want for yourself. Stay prayed up, and I'll be praying for you too. Thank you so much for sharing. The next one says, my year started off great. I got a job and did all that I wanted to do for myself and my family. Unfortunately, I lost the job, and let me just say, I'm fat and depressed, trying every day not to give up but keep pushing. I'm grateful for everything I have, but when will it be my turn? It got taken away from me so quick. I'm honestly very sad, and I'm overweight that I no longer want to leave the house. I hope that makes sense. I'm not complaining, but being unemployed is very frustrating. Babe, you can complain. You can complain. I really hope that if you take one thing from this episode, it's the fact that you can complain. We can complain. We have a right to complain, and even when we're praying to God, we can say, God, why so? Why is this happening to me? Why is it happening? I'm not happy with this. Let's fix it. Like, what needs to change for this to be fixed, to change the situation? So you have a right to complain. You have a right to complain. You have a right to be unhappy about how things are happening for you in your life right now, right? I'm really sorry that you lost your job, especially after having just gotten it, because from what I'm getting here, you just got your job, right? And then you lost it. I don't know the circumstances around which the loss of your job happened. I'm not sure if it was a company thing, if it was a you thing, if it was you and the company kind of thing. But I do hope that you did take the time to sort of go through that situation and figure out what it is that happened, why it is that happened, and if it's something that you can, how you can avoid it going forward in your next job, right? Don't give up. Don't give up on applying for work, even though you can feel depressed. I totally understand feeling down and dejected and not wanting to do anything, because what's the point, right? But keep doing it. Lahlela i-CV yakho. You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take, right? So even if you're like, Kefana, I'm not going to get this job, apply for it. You're not going to get it anyway, right? So what do you have to lose? Apply for the jobs and put yourself out there. Like I said to the previous person, try to look for creative solutions to the situation that you're facing right now, right? If it means starting a business where you sell exam care packs, if it means being a runner. I know people are, I don't know where you live, but like being like a small street runner or a Dragon City runner. Look at the things that you love and find creative ways to turn those things into some sort of income, no matter how small, just so that you can keep your mind occupied and you can keep busy so that you don't find yourself constantly slipping into a place of depression. Another thing is the fact that you mentioned, Uguti, you're overweight. That is really one of the things that you can have control of right now in this point in your life, right? Because I'm pretty sure you're feeling like you don't have any control. You don't have work, so you don't have money, and you don't have that power that comes with having your own financial muscle, right? You don't have the power to make decisions for yourself about where you want to go, what you want to eat, what you want to do, whatever, whatever. You don't have that power, but you do have the power to run. You have the power to run. If the streets are not safe for you, a skipping rope, you have the power to skip. You have the power to open YouTube. The fact that you could answer this questionnaire tells me you have access to the internet. You have the power to open YouTube, find clothing, do a workout. Do you know what I mean? You've got the power and the control to manage your portion sizes as you eat. You've got the power and the control to do some research to find out how it is that you can change your body. Sure, your employment status right now is not in your own hands, in the sense that it's up to someone else to hire you and to give you a job. That's fine. But your body's in your hands, babe. Your body's in your hands, and that's something that you can do. So do what you can do at this point in time, right? Take control over your life and show God and show the universe that we are moving and you need to move with me. Do you know what I mean? All the best on all of this, and I really will be praying for you. I hope that in this coming year we'll be talking a different story when it comes to you and employment and really putting the spark and the joy back into your life. Thank you so much for sharing, and all the best. The next one says, my year started off on a high note but progressively deteriorated. Maybe for me, it feels like this is because of the challenges I've faced. But God has remained good because my highs are something to look forward to for the coming year and years to come. I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm so sorry to hear that, like, things were just going down. But you know what that guy said on TikTok? He said, if it's feeling like this, you must know that you're going up, right? I'm glad to hear that you are positive and you still do have a positive outlook on the possibilities that await you going forward. Take notes of this year, right? Take notes of this year, sit down, really look at what are the things that went downhill, right? What are the things that deteriorated? Of those things, which ones do you have control of, and how is it that you're going to ensure that layer deterioration doesn't continue into next year and the years that are to come? And of the things that you don't have control over, process them and give yourself grace. Give yourself so much grace for the way that things have happened. I really do hope that, like you said, other years get better and that things do progressively get better for you. Thank you so much for sharing, and all the best. The next one says, this year was quiet, in that it feels like you're stuck, but you're actually not, kind of way. I got the opportunity to sit with everything that weighed me down about my situation in life, and the silence was a great way to gain the clarity I would have missed if the distractions were on the table. Okay, that's a very interesting perspective on stillness, and I really like it so much because we are constantly busy, right? If you achieve a goal, you're working on the next goal. If it's not a goal, you're fighting with someone, or you're fixing this, or you're working on yourself, or you're doing better, or there's always something happening, right? We're always on some sort of hamster wheel, whether it's with work, whether it's with school, whether it's with people in our lives, relationships, whatever, whatever. And so when silence comes, we don't know how to deal with that silence. And the silence feels like we are being, there's a word I'm looking for in English. And the silence just feels like stagnation. Yes. We're not used to silence. We don't know how to deal with silence. And the silence feels like stagnation. Our lives are stopped and we're not going anywhere. But like you've said, the silence is a great way to sort of take stock of everything that is happening around us. It's easy for us to see what our next move should be, where we are going next, what it is that we want, what's working, what's not working when we are sitting in silence. Just like you said, Huti, you gain clarity that you would have missed if there was all the noise happening around you, right? So happy to hear that you've got this great outlook about silence. I think it goes back to that whole thing I have about valleys and mountain peaks, right? When you're at the a mountain peak, there's lots of distractions because life is beautiful. The birds, the view, the what, but when you're in the valley, it's dark, it's quiet, it's weird, it's all you. And you have to really sit down by yourself and take stock of what it is that's going on around you and plan your next moves. Now that you've been in your season of silence, I hope that the next coming season is taking it to the top, okay? I hope that the next season comes with all the blessings, it comes with all the applied lessons that you've gotten from your time in silence, right? I pray that your time in silence has taught you or given you some sort of direction on where you're going next and how you're going to elevate your life going forward. We cannot wait to see it all. We will be there. Thank you so much for sharing and all the best. Next one says, I don't know, long, maybe tedious. I think I gave up a little this year. Last year, I spoke about how losing my sister was a catalyst that had me eating, sleeping, breathing grief. I went a little numb this year, but man, did I make sure that the people I love know. I stood up for myself. I learned that I'm not always right, don't tell my boyfriend, and that I will always lose people along the way. So maybe my year was a long lecture. I don't know, like for me, it just feels like you've done so much better. I remember last year when we were doing Oh What a Year, I remember your story. And I just genuinely feel like you're doing so much better this year. I mean, first of all, you're saying that you know that people you love know you love them. You were able to experience or you were able to feel that love and share it with people outside of you. You know what I mean? Like you were able to step outside of the grief and open yourself up to love, even if it was just in you giving that love to other people. That's a great step, right? For yourself. If I remember correctly, last year, one of the things that you were unhappy about, especially in light of the loss of your sister, is your relationship with your mother and how the loss of your sister sort of affected your relationship. And I'm assuming that it's to her that you stood up. And if that's the case, I'm so proud of you. I know that you did it respectfully because you have lots of love for your mother. But you stood up for yourself and you put yourself first. I don't think that's being numb. I think that's being so amazing. You chose yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like instead of just sitting like a little twig in a river going downstream and letting life take you wherever it takes you, letting people treat you however they treat you, you stood up for yourself and you said no. That's an improvement from where you were. That's amazing. Learning that you're not always right, I feel, is quite the trip, and it takes a lot for a person to understand that, to accept that, and to be willing to course correct or even just acknowledge that. So the fact that you're doing that is amazing. And I won't tell your boyfriend. It's amazing that you are able to get to that point where you can reflect and you can grow from learning and knowing that you're not always right, right? I'm so proud of you for the growth that you've displayed in the last year. It's amazing. And the grief, I feel like the grief will always be there. I feel like the grief will always be there. And we just find a way to make space for grief in our lives. And I think that's exactly what you've done this year, right? You carried the grief with you and you have the grief with you, but you're able to live. You're able to love people. You're able to stand up for yourself. You're able to reflect and acknowledge where you're not right. You're able to be okay with losing people. Like, I think, especially after a permanent loss like this, we want to hold on to everyone that we have because it's like, I just lost somebody. I don't want to be losing any more people. But the fact that you're now open to the way life works in terms of people constantly leaving and entering your life, that's amazing, my babe. So you're doing so great. You're doing amazing, my babe. You're doing so amazing. And you're constantly improving and you're constantly doing better. And that's really what's going to happen here, is that you're just constantly going to be doing better. So give yourself grace and give yourself your tens where you deserve them, because you're doing so amazing. And I hope that in next year and all the other coming years, that all the love and the joy that you are bringing to the people around you comes back to you tenfold. Thank you so much for sharing. The next one says, this year had hands. I started the year of unemployed for the first time ever. I felt so stuck and unworthy. I volunteered and got a job at the same company. I want to quit because the job is so demanding. I went back to therapy and I love it so much. My therapist quit last month. Okay. We had any therapists. What did you do to your therapist? I'm joking. I'm joking. I think, yeah, but in the unemployment, we really need to just look at it mathematically now. Like, let's put all the feelings aside. And this is also to the other person who was unemployed earlier. Let's put the unemployment feelings aside, right? They're important, but just for this exercise, let's put the unemployment feelings aside and look at this mathematically. Siyagoa as a country, youth unemployment is at an all-time high. Jobs are imisebenzi ayikho. Do you know what I mean? There are no jobs. Even for graduates, the people who are doctors, they're sitting at home with their YMCMB degrees, not getting work because that's how tough the situation in the country is. So don't let that make you feel unworthy. Don't internalize that. Don't internalize it too much. Don't personalize it too much. You don't suck. You're not terrible. You're not stupid. You're not unworthy. It's just the kiss of the South Hope. It's the nature of the beast, right? It's the nature of the type of country that we're in. It's the nature of the economy that we're in. So don't be too hard on yourself. You're not unworthy. It's just the way things are happening right now. But you're not wrong. Do you know what I mean? And I think you really understood that because instead of like sitting and wallowing, you decided to go and to volunteer. That's huge. Because I think like when you're unemployed, dog, you want money. Like it's money that I want. It's not to be kept busy or whatever. But the fact that you're like, I've got this time and I'm going to take a chance and I'm going to show up somewhere doing something was amazing and it paid back because you got that job, right? I see that you want to quit because the job is demanding, but accounting echo demanding ebo mean babe. I'm not saying stay at the job if you're unhappy and it's unhealthy, but everything in life is demanding. Even when you quit that job and you're sitting at home, there will be something that will be demanding on you, whether it's emotionally or however, you know what I mean? So I would say that if the only thing that's making you want to quit your job is the fact that it's demanding, look for another job before leaving this one. Like, I know that there are people who leave their jobs with no plan B and deal with whatever it is that comes before they find the next job. But having started the year off unemployed, you know how that situation was. And so I would say if you stick around there, stick around there, give it a couple more months while you're looking for something else, and then just jump to the next job. Unless, of course, we're not looking at the situation that was when you were still unemployed, and you're like, that's better than what it is that I'm going through right now. Then I guess again you can take that leap and go back to being unemployed. But honestly, just give KP chance, man. KP chance, yipe chance, now is yipe chance. Do you know what I mean? Like learn and get and grow whatever it is that you can from this job while you're looking for another job because akomandi apapanda. Like it's not nice to be unemployed after having had employment, having had the freedom and the joy and the money and all of that sort of stuff. So I would say look for something else before you take that leap. But obviously, if we should be then I guess take the leap. But in all things, stay prayed up. If praying and faith are your things, stay prayed up. Ask God to give you the guidance on making the right decision for yourself. Thank you so much for sharing and all the best. You know, many times we say that this year is our year, and I really think that 2024 was my year. I think that 2024 was the year that I built the foundation for the life that I want for myself. And I know I said that about last year, but I'm allowed to change my mind. I feel like last year was me leveling the grounds, right? Leveling the playing field and digging where my foundation would be. And this year, I really laid the foundation for the year that I want for myself. So this year was big in the sense that it was the year of starting to build me, the future me. You know what I mean? This year I grew so much in my faith. I grew so much in my faith, and not just because I go to church more often, but because I can literally see God's hand in my life in the big ways and in the small ways. Like I can see the things that I don't want to partake in because I feel like that's God wouldn't like it if I did that. I can see how much more open I am. I'm so much more open to giving. I think I used to have a big lack mentality before. I used to live in a place of lack, but if I give of myself, whether it's with resources, whether it's with myself, whether it's with anything, like if I give of myself, what will I have? I'm not going to have anything. Strengthening my faith has really taught me to have an open heart, an open hand, an open mind, and be willing to share of myself. You know what I mean? Be willing to share of myself, whether it's my resources, whether it's my love, whether it's my kindness or whatever. It really allowed me to become a better, kinder, nicer person to be around. And I really do think I like myself so much better as I am right now. This year showed me that I have the power to make a change. I have the power to make a change, not just in my life, but in my family and in my society. And I can do that by making better decisions for myself. I think on one of the episodes last year, it must have been the second last episode, where the question was, how is it that you're going to show up better for yourself and people around you this year? How is it that you're going to show up better for the people around you? And I think I said something like, I'm going to show up better for the people around me by showing up for myself. And I kept that promise. I kept the promise to myself to show up for myself by giving myself props, by bringing my ideas to life. Do you know what I mean? Like, I allowed myself to dream of something and create it, thereby teaching myself that I can do things. And by doing that, have shown people in my community that they can do things. Do you know what I mean? I think that in opening myself up and in opening my heart up, I've been able to show up for my people. I think that in letting my people show up for me, I have become a better version of myself and can thus show up better for them. So yeah, this year honestly was amazing. It was not an easy year. It was not an easy year, but it was an amazing year. And I'm looking forward to what comes with the type of growth and the type of learnings that I allowed myself to learn this year. So yeah, with that, we've come to the end of our very first episode. Please do like, comment, subscribe, follow, whatever it is that happens on the platform from which you are accessing this. Do the right thing. The questions are still open. The link is on my Instagram bio. Please do click the link and answer the questions. And even if you don't want to answer the questions because you want to partake in the show, answer the questions for yourself. Really reflect on the kind of year you had and the kind of year that you want to have next year. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, God is good and life is still so beautiful.